ccsradio.com, and good morning. We're glad that you're with us here today on this October the 19th. My goodness, that means that we have a very big event coming up. And if you read Shari's shirt, you can tell what that event is if you're watching on Facebook. She's got her Love of Life shirt on this morning as we talk this morning with two survivors of breast cancer. Dr. Lynn Botelho is with us and Shari Baumler, both of whom have fought breast cancer. Our conversation with them brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted Best Personal Injury Law Firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We pay an awful lot of attention to breast cancer awareness, and we've had docs in from the Comprehensive Breast Center team. We've had all kinds of different angles from which we've approached it. I don't think for this segment we've ever had breast cancer survivors come on to tell their stories, but you're both with us this morning. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
It's great to be here.
It's good to have you both with us. Shari, your story, breast cancer is so personal for everybody. Could you, I know thumbnailing it is not exactly the correct way to approach it, but what's your breast cancer story? When did you learn that you had it, and how did you follow through on it?
Well, about 3 years ago, I found some markings on my sheets and went to my gynecologist to see what I should do about that. She referred me to Dr. Daniel Clark. He's a breast specialist, and we did some testing. And it continued, and so we decided we needed to do a procedure called a ductectomy at the Women's Imaging Center. Mm-hmm. And then he also is a genetic testing specialist. So he did the genetic testing on me because my mother had breast cancer and also was born in Germany. So my heritage, there's a special gene that is caused by the heritage, Eastern European heritage. So fast forward to after getting the genetic testing done, I was positive for BRCA2. So besides doing the ductectomy, a double mastectomy was recommended because of that, because BRCA2 can cause breast cancer, mm-hmm. Along with a lot of other types of cancer mutations. So, mm-hmm. So after doing the ductectomy, we found additional breast cancer in a different part of my breast that had gone totally undetected, actually.
Wow.
So it was lucky that, in a way, that I was confirmed to be BRCA2 positive.
Had you done screenings before then?
Oh, yes, every year, because my mother had breast cancer. So every year I would, at the Women's Imaging Center, I had.
It's pretty amazing how we hear the stories all the time. Someone is perfectly fine on their mammogram, mm-hmm. And between one and the next, mm-hmm. that's when it occurs.
Yeah.
It's how quickly it can occur in somebody's life.
Well, and truthfully, it wasn't even that. I mean, the ductectomy, when they did that, they found cancer there, but then in a totally different place because of the double mastectomy. So, mm-hmm. It's just something you just have to keep on top of all the time. Lynn,
what about you?
Well, a slightly different story. I was very aware that everyone in my family on both sides had died of cancer. So if I make it to 81, I'll have one. And so I've always done self-checking. So, just make sure things are feeling right. And I actually found a lump myself. It was small and it's tiny. And I went in and they were like, come back in 3 months. And I went, And they're like, oh, we should biopsy it. I went, And I almost said no, actually. And I'm so glad I didn't, because indeed it was hot. It was a cancer spot. And then they did one of the special MRIs, and they found another one that they would never have found on the other side. And along the way, they started asking the questions about your family history, mm-hmm. Breast cancer. In fact, yes, an aunt, and I found out later, an uncle with breast cancer, my mother with pancreatic cancer, and they looked at me, they gave me that look, and went, would you be interested in genetic testing? And I went, absolutely. Because I think, like many of us that grew up at the same time, when the genetic testing came through, I was like, would you take the test? Mm-hmm. Would you do it? And so I'd already answered that to my own satisfaction. And so I took the genetic test, and I was BRCA2 positive. And the Dr. Clark, Dr. Bill Amoria, Their nurse, Deb, is amazing. The breast cancer center, just a fabulous experience. I recognize that every person has a different relationship with their bodies, and particularly women and their breasts. And I already had made a lot of decisions that I knew that I wanted to make because I want to keep doing things. So a double mastectomy was absolutely it, but also my ovaries and a couple of precautions I took because we are at high risk for certain things. And I'm just getting myself into a study at UPMC for pancreatic cancer and to see if there's what they can find between BRCA2 and in relation to pancreatic cancer. And I thank our doctors up here for facilitating that cross hospital relationship. But I got to say, the experience here, the work that is done here is fabulous. And, you trust your life to these people. And, I trusted my life there. But I also tell my students, because I'm a professor, about the need to just make sure you know what's going on with your body, because my first mammogram was at 23. And that's not part of the normal 23-year-old culture. And so I walked into an older friend's house. It was like, what just happened?
It is amazing to me and fascinating to listen to both of your stories because you both have family histories of cancers. And Lynn, you were not aware of the breast cancer in your family history until then?
Oh, no, I was absolutely aware. And that's why I was checking constantly.
Yeah. And so when a guy like Dr. Clark comes along, with such an amazing background that he has, and more than just a background, an interest in digging to the bottom of things.
Yes.
It really fascinates me to see the way his mind works, because I've had a long relationship with him here in radio settings and as a patient of his as well. It's really interesting to see the way that whole physician mindset kicks in. And when you combine that with the other doctors and it becomes a team concept, it really is as if IRMC is really teaming up to fight cancer, isn't it?
Yeah, we're very lucky to have Dr. Clark here and his wife, who is in the radiology department.
Yeah.
And Dr. Bill Morey. So.
Yeah.
Dr. Bill Moria is amazing. Both of the Dr. Clarks. We had Dina Deal here, which I'm sure both of you have come across Dina in your dealings with the breast center as well.
Yeah, it's an incredible. We're very lucky. I mean, rural healthcare is such a need, right? And the fact that we have this comprehensive breast center here in a relatively small town, and that we serve so many people in Indiana County and beyond. It's really quite phenomenal that we have such a great resource and such great people in those positions.
Yeah.
I just can't say enough. Besides, thank you, you guys.
And the relationship with Hillman, the UPMC Hillman Cancer Center.
Exactly. That whole combination just makes, I think, so many things possible that we couldn't do otherwise. If you have to travel into Pittsburgh constantly, that will delay your recovery. So it's nice to be able to stay home and be treated, with first-rate people.
When you get that diagnosis, some people are, they go to the statistics immediately and we start looking up the stats. What's my survival rate? What are my chances of this, chances of that? Some people will approach it entirely differently. Some people, unfortunately, will be in denial about the whole thing. It is a whole spectrum of reactions that you could have, but there's, in the end, a correct reaction, and that is to get yourself the care that you need.
And however that care is best defined by you, your relationship with your body will form a lot of things. I was very clear about what I was going to do. And my reaction as a former U.S. World Fencing team member was very much that sports mindset. I dialed into, this is what I need to do, and this is how I need to do it. And my old teammates were saying, like, you sound like you're getting ready for the World Championships. Because I am. But that was my initial reaction. Later came all the other things that's like, oh my, this is really scary. But my first reaction was to dig in. Yeah.
Shari, what about you?
It was overwhelming, definitely. You shut down, but they give you good information to share. They encourage you to share it with your family, because all your family, your siblings, your cousins, your own children all need to be tested as well. Because once you have the gene, then certainly other people in the family can. So,
And they're in the fight with you too.
oh,
aren't they?
definitely. The
Yeah.
support of the family and my friends were just overwhelmingly
It's invaluable.
amazing.
It
Yeah,
really
yeah.
is. It really is. So you both, I can tell, almost take it on as a bit of ministry for you to get out and get the word out to,
Sure.
to women, especially about breast cancer and about the need for screening, and to follow through because you can go through the process and decide for yourself that I'm not really up for this, and you could ignore it, and you can get yourself in trouble that way, or you could get the proper treatment.
Sure. Action is definitely important to take as quickly as possible. So that way, if you do have cancer, it gets it early enough that you don't have to go through more aggressive stuff like chemo or radiation.
Yeah.
So
Precisely. Early actions are your best course.
definitely.
Really is.
The inclination for some people to say, like I did, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when you started telling your story, and you said, well, maybe not, before you finally took the first.
I think we all think we're a little bit immortal, right? I mean,
yeah.
And that it's just like, that can't happen to me. And says, wait a second, it just did.
My mother used to tell me, "You're not invulnerable," and I said, "No one's proven me wrong yet." And slowly we find out that you're vulnerable. Everybody is. Ladies, so good to have you both in the studio with us today. Your stories are the same stories that a lot of people are telling, but for everyone, it's a unique story, while it's shared by so many others. And so for you to tell your stories today, hopefully will inspire others to make sure they get that screening, to support those in their lives who also, even if we're getting our screenings like we should, maybe they're not, and they're neglecting those sorts of things about themselves. The tests are there. The team is there. Get tested.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com.